time to get depressed. The coming of the Great Depression. So with an increase in stock prices, there was a widespread speculative fever, and this led to the stock market crash on October 29, 1929, also known as Black Tuesday. Some people think the crash is the cause of the depression. In reality, it's a variety of factors, such as the lack of diversification in the economy that was dependent on few industries. There was a decline in construction and automobiles. There was a maldistribution of wealth. Many could not buy the goods of industry, so there was overproduction. The credit of the economy. Banks are hurt by the farmers defaulting on their loans and the banks' reckless investments in the stocks. There's a decline in the European need and ability to pay for American goods, so there's a decline in American exports. The Allied nations after World War I needed to pay loans to America, but they couldn't. The reparations demanded from Germany were unpaid because of their shattered economy as well. The American government refuses to forgive the loans, so they institute a system of repayment which just creates more loans, more debt, and more loans. There's a collapse of the international credit, which spreads the depression to Europe. With the banking collapse is a severe contraction in the money supply. The American people in hard times. So cities are paralyzed by unemployment. But people still have a belief in personal responsibility, so they feel guilty if they are unemployed. The relief efforts are insufficient to meet the new demands. Extensive welfare would undermine the morality of its recipients. That was the mindset during this time period. There was huge drought. Dust storms and grasshopper swarms cover the Dust Bowl region of the United States. Farm prices fall dramatically, and many farmers leave home in search of work. Black sharecroppers leave their land, and unemployed whites demand jobs for themselves before blacks could get any. In the Scottsboro case, there were black teenagers accused of rape, but they were found guilty despite evidence showing their innocence. So the segregation and disenfranchisement leads to accounts of racism. The Supreme Court overturns the convictions in the Scottsboro case, and all of the accused eventually gain their freedom. The NAACP helps blacks enter the labor movement, and 20% of the Steelworkers Union was black. Mexican Americans lose their jobs because of the white demands. Some Chicanos, a derogatory term for Mexicans, were forced to leave America. They were discriminated against in relief programs, schools, hospitals, etc. Asian Americans suffered the same marginalization by whites. The Japanese encouraged their people to become more assimilated through Japanese American Citizens League. Women are encouraged not to work outside the home, but they did it anyway to support their families. With the increase in female employment, their positions are less likely to disappear than men's because of the type of work they are in. And black women are in domestic service jobs, which are gradually disappearing. There's a retreat from consumerism, and people start making and growing their own materials and food. However, the family unit is eroded and more families are broken up. The Depression and American culture. So there's persistence to traditional American values like the success ethic. People blame themselves for being unemployed. Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People said that people could restore themselves to prosperity and success. With the discovery of poverty in rural areas, this shocks people. Many people study the impact of the environment on the victims in the rural areas. Writers write exposés of social injustice, like John Steinbeck's portrayal of workers' trials in California. John Joseph Peso's trilogy, called USA, attacks modern capitalism. Radio was seen as a community experience and escapism, like comedies, adventures, and entertainment rather than newsreels and things that were going on in everyday life. The most popular products divert people's attention from the Depression into more distracting events, like soap operas, public performances and events, news, and sports, which provide common access to culture and information. There is a continuing popularity of movies because there is a relatively low cost, improved quality, sound, and sometimes even color. Some movies explore social questions and political themes, however, most of them more escapist. Popular films include Disney animations, Wizard of Oz, Gone with the Wind. Popular books and magazines were escapist as well, like Gone with the Wind, Anthony Adver's Life magazine. Other Depression writing included corrosive portraits of the harshness and emptiness of American life. The Popular Front is a coalition of anti-fascist groups, including the American Communist Party. They are a critic of American capitalism. They are allied with other progressive groups. They help to mobilize people behind the pattern of social criticism. The Spanish Civil War helps give meaning and purpose to individual lives. The American Abraham Lincoln Brigade joins the fight against the fascists, even though the American military didn't join. The Communist Party helps organize the unemployed and favors racial justice. However, it's the party subordinated to the Soviet Union. Their non-aggression pact with Germany leads to a return to criticism of American liberals. The Socialist Party also blames the economic crisis on the failure of capitalism. However, they have no real force in American politics. There is anti-radicalism and hostility toward the Communist Party. The left, also known as the progressives, have newfound respectability. John Steinbeck's The Grapes of Wrath is a harsh portrait of agrarian life, but also a tribute to the spirit of endurance and community. The Unhappy Presidency of Herbert Hoover. His first response to the Depression was an attempt to restore public confidence in the economy. However, his structures of voluntarism collapsed. His spending on federal works programs was not enough, and he later focused on balancing the budget. The Agricultural Marketing Act was the first government program to help farmers maintain prices. And the Hawley-Smoot tariff increased protection on farm products. However, neither of these never really helped American farmers. Many Americans blame Hoover for the economic crisis. Hoover did not increase spending or relief programs. In 1931, there was an international financial panic. European nations could not get loans from the U.S. So the Reconstruction Finance Corporation is a government agency to provide loans to banks and other businesses for relief efforts. However, this did not have enough money to make real impact. In 1932, unhappy farmers created the Farmers' Holiday Association, which is essentially endorsed a farmers' strike, which ended in failure. Hoover refuses the veterans' appeal for bonuses to be paid, so the Bonus Army marches on Washington until Congress passed a law for their appeal. However, they still voted it down. The veterans continue to stay there, and Hoover orders the police and the United States Army to get rid of them. Hoover had become a symbol of the nation's failure to deal with the Depression. With the election of 1932, the Democrats nominate FDR, who was governor of New York, and Hoover's unpopularity ensures FDR's election. And a month before his inauguration, the collapse of the banking system accelerates, and Hoover asks Roosevelt not to meddle too much with the economy. However, Roosevelt refuses. And next time we will discuss the aspects of FDR's New Deal.